Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I want to support the intent behind an ICAC. But I want to go into the matter of accountability, because the people of Australia do not hold Parliament with high regard, federal Parliament, when it comes to the matter of accountability. It's something I realised before entering Parliament, having had to deal with people from both sides of Parliament in the upper house and the lower house. Accountability is low, in many places non-existent, and the people laugh at this building, at the people in this building. In my first speech, I mentioned that accountability is one of my areas to improve in this Parliament. It's something that Senator Pauline Hanson has repeatedly stated: accountability, accountability, accountability. We see Labor in Queensland, Labor in New South Wales, Labor in Ipswich, Labor in many Shire councils in Queensland, Liberal Party in many councils in Queensland, some councils in Queensland. We see Chinese donations. We don't get answers. And then last week and the week before, I was involved with a committee of inquiry looking at the retirement income, the post-retirement income of former ministers Bishop and Pyne. And I interviewed or questioned the most senior bureaucrat in this country, who retired just a few hours later, Dr. Martin Parkinson. And after talking to us about the investigation he has done on behalf of the Prime Minister, repeatedly mentioning the word investigation, he admitted under my line of questioning that he has no investigation powers. The undertaking that ministers give to the Prime Minister on being appointed is simply an undertaking, unenforceable, uninvestigatable. Accountability is low. I've seen it firsthand myself. And that's why this building, in my opinion, is often the most damaging building in the country, because it has so much power over the people of Australia and doesn't work for the people of Australia. I mentioned energy, mentioned immigration, property rights, taxation, multinationals not being taxed, the theft of property rights. These are fundamental basic things that are being ignored, blown away by the people in this Parliament. We must get rid of corrupt politicians and bureaucrats. I'll say it again. We must get rid of corrupt politicians and bureaucrats. So we see something is needed. Should it be internal? Should it be a matter of, as Ms Bishop stated last week, of holding ministers accountable under legislation so that they can be held accountable after they retire? Well, that's one way of doing it, and I would prefer to see something like that, but in having little introductory talks on that matter, Madam Acting Deputy President, it becomes difficult to do that. So that leaves us then with an external body that would be free of politics, would be legal and would be tight. And that's what the people of Australia want. Free of politics, legal and tight. My concern is there, though, that Parliament can be used as a shield. But we see some instances of success with this in the state bodies, so it's worth exploring. So I want to compliment the Greens for raising this. There you are, people of Australia. I've actually complimented the Greens. It's not the first time. We will always compliment the Greens and work with the Greens when they come up with a sensible idea. Now, clearly, the people have lost faith in Parliament, and they tell us that. They tell One Nation that a lot, and they want us to do something about it. And in fact, we see the Parliament itself has lost faith in itself, because we see request after request, motion after motion, requesting inquiries. Parliament has lost faith in itself. So I want to compliment the Greens, because they're doing more here than just fabricating victims, which I normally do, because the real victims of this corruption, of this abuse of power in this building, the real victims are the people of Australia. But there is a very big but. In fact, there are 17 buts. And we put these questions, fundamental questions, to the Greens. We received answers on some, but these questions came out of scrutiny by the Bills Committee and review from the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Legislation Committee, Madam Acting Deputy President. These are serious questions that people have asked about this bill, and they have largely gone unanswered or been confirmed. So I want to go through those. As I said, the intent behind this to drive more accountability in Parliament is sound, but let's have a look at the execution. The person under investigation is not required to be informed that they are being investigated. That's fundamental. That's a deficiency. The Integrity Bill Commission is being given the powers of a Royal Commission, but it is not a judicial investigation. It does not have the requisite legal staff to support the powers of a Royal Commission. Another flaw. The Commission will have no powers of telecommunication intercepts, surveillance devices, and so on. Another flaw. Referrals of matters can be made by any person. No framework for specious or political referrals exists. No checks or balances on the referrals. This could be used politically outside the Parliament as well as inside the Parliament. Commonwealth heads of government are required to make referrals to the Commission where they believe corrupt conduct has occurred. That's fine. However, the definition of corrupt conduct is so broad this whole section becomes unworkable. It may result in a known incidents being buried in hundreds of specious incidents and claims. Remember, this is not me talking. This is the reviews from the Scrutiny of Bills Committee and the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Legislation Committee. These are real and serious questions. Number 9, we like this one. It has the power to hold public meetings. Now that seems unpopular, but we actually think it's probably appropriate. Number 11, the Commissioner appears to have the power to refuse a person's right to be represented before them. Replied, the Greens actually replied to this one, and they said that's not always the case, but it is in some cases. The next question, the Commissioner may order a person arrested and brought before the Commission. That arrest does not need to be carried out by law enforcement, merely authorised persons. Now, sure, the AFP could do that, the Australian Federal Police, but in the instances it's not done by the Australian Federal Police, it could undo the process. So that's questionable, and we need clarification there. The next one, the bill allows persons other than police officers to execute search warrants, including powers to force entry, search in the absence of the suspect. There is no requirement on experience of qualifications of the Commission's operators. So unless they are experienced, they could be prone to mistakes, and that could throw out the validity of the whole inquiry, the whole action. Next one, 15, I want to discuss is 15. The reversal of evidentiary burden of proof. The person under investigation, Madam Acting Deputy President, has to disprove or raise evidence to disprove their guilt. No longer provision of innocence until proven guilty. The Greens say that people don't need that protection. The next one, Madam Acting Deputy President. Failing to appear after receiving a summons or failing to produce a document or thing is a strict liability offence carrying 6 months in jail. This takes out the ability to first get sick or be geographically or financially unable to respond, and also to appeal the order to hand over a document or item. Now, the Commissioner may give an extension, but they're pretty broad powers in item 16, raised by the two committees. Number 17, and the last one I'll talk about, Madam Acting Deputy President, is that members, including staff of the Commission, are exempted from civil action for defamation and a group of civil remedies. They can literally do anything, they can lie, say anything about a person they wish, they are good to go. So we are caught here between something that is sound intent but complicated and flawed in its execution. As I said, Madam Acting Deputy President, it has been reviewed by the Scrutiny of Bills Committee and by the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Legislation Committee. It fundamentally goes against basic tenets of the law in our country. Our conclusion would seem to be that we are caught in between the Greens bill that goes too far and undermines some fundamental principles of law in this country and creates a body that would embarrass the Stasi, and on the other hand, the government's proposal that investigates and reports in secret and only investigates matters referred to it by the government. Both are not acceptable. Poor to the left, poor to the right. What we see in this bill is sound intent destroyed, submerged, squashed by virtue signalling. The Greens are the squealing pigs of Australian Parliament. They talk about integrity, but don't have integrity of using the science on climate change, which is now emasculating millions of people's economic welfare and futures, based on a lie. They have never provided the evidence, and yet they talk to us about integrity of their climate claims. All they use is emotion and stories. This is a political stunt. It is embarrassing that they try to foist this upon the people of this country. The Greens give more rights to illegals entering this country than they are giving in this bill to the people of our country. And we won't stand for it. We will not support this bill until it is cleaned up and the intent is supported by the specific provisions. I want to repeat, Madam Acting Deputy President, One Nation is in favour of an ICAC, or an external body, to hold this parliament accountable, but we are not in favour of this stunt. We must do things properly as a parliament, because time after time after time the government stuffs it up and the people pay. Energy, people pay. Theft of property rights, people pay. Immigration, excessive immigration, the people pay. Not just financially, but in inconvenience and destroying of our standards and values. We ask the questions that people want asked in this parliament, and we have the guts to say what people are really thinking. The people want accountability, not a sham. We want a proper ICAC, a proper external body, to hold the parliament and the individual parliamentarians accountable. This bill does not do that adequately. Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President.
Thank you, Senator